With a 20-year reputation for clean business, Matt Glynn at Code Property Group is the first choice for real estate on the Sunshine Coast and surrounding areas. I've known Matt for a very long time from a personal level and professional level, and he is an excellent real estate agent. He's professional, he holds a high level of integrity, he presents incredibly well, and has a huge amount of knowledge when it comes to the real estate industry. So if you are in the market to buy, sell, or simply get a valuation and find out more about your current property, then give Matt a call on 0404 315 066 or matt.glynn, GLYNN at codepg.com. You won't be disappointed. All right, we're back. We're in India. And once again, I've managed to grab Joey for another podcast. But first, how you going, Joe?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for having me back on. I'm tired.
We've had a few shenanigans setting up the microphone this morning, but I got there in the end, even though the peanut gallery was not on my side.
Nice.
I directly looked at Monty in that regard. But no, we are tired. It has been a long trip. We got here... I don't even know what day it is. What is it? Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. So we got here late Tuesday.
Late Monday.
Oh, did we? Oh, we
Monday
did too.
night.
Yeah, we left
like
Monday.
Midnight
Monday. Had all day yesterday. And then, yeah, we're still on Australian time. But anyway, we'll get to it. So I thought I'd grab Joe for a podcast today and just pick his brain, as we do most India trips, and talk about check-ins, you know, because obviously check-ins are an integral part of a coach's regime when it comes to making changes, giving advice, guidance, direction, all those sorts of things, whether they're weekly, monthly, whatever. So firstly, you know, let's just give a bit of a broad overview, Joe, in regards to check-ins as a whole, because every coach has a different method, right? And obviously yours, compared to mine even, is different in a lot of ways. But the general value of a check-in to a client, what's your sort of position on that in regards to what the individual can get out of them?
Well, I think just from an analytical standpoint and an assessment standpoint, it's probably the most important part of the whole athlete experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, sticking to the plan and whatnot is first and foremost, that's the most important thing for an athlete to do. But I guess we can't manage what we don't measure, right? So
yeah, good point.
If the athlete is not updating the coach doesn't know how to then effectively adjust the plan. And if the plan is not being adjusted, we're not going to create any new adaptation, whether it's fat loss, muscle gain, even if you're trying to maintain to some degree, because those parameters do change as you maintain for longer and longer. So if you're not receiving any updates, then you can't do your job, and the athlete can't get the results that they want.
Yes.
So I would, and like that's just the analytical side of it. Obviously, the behavioural side of it and how it pertains to the behaviour of an athlete is super important, which I'm sure we'll get into. But all in all, it's an extremely, extremely important part of the coaching experience.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, and you're right. Like the you know, when you're starting off fresh with someone new for the first time, you don't have any history other than what you've spoken about in a consult. You want to build that baseline. You want to build some history. You want to build some data, so then you've got something to work with to make changes as necessary. In relation to, obviously, you know, there's certainly a literal difference between an athlete and a lifestyle client. Obviously, athletes are probably going to be a lot more analytical. We're going to, you know, get down into the nitty-gritty of the data, whereas lifestyle, there's an element of flexibility there. But in terms of a lifestyle client, you know, more adherent, more I guess, compliant to the check-in process, is still going to achieve good results, right?
For sure.
So in terms of the relationship of the coach and the athlete / lifestyle client and the check-in itself, you know, I guess it's a 50-50 split in terms of responsibility. You know, you mentioned you don't get the check-in from the client, or a regular check-in from the client, or a transparent check-in from the client, you can't do your job. But you can't do your job unless you get that data as well, right? So it's
Correct.
It's a catch-22. Where am I going with this? I'm trying to come up with a good... I'm struggling with sleep.
Just going around the merry-go-round.
I am going around in circles here. But I guess, we spoke just before, back down at breakfast, in relation to, clients that don't necessarily check in on a regular basis. And then, and I've had it plenty of times, I'm sure you have too, where it'll be a case of, I haven't had enough time this morning, so I'll do it tomorrow, or sorry for the late check-in today, I was running out of time, or, number of different reasons, number of different excuses, and some of them are very much legitimate. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it should be very much a priority at the beginning of the day, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just a priority thing. And I always say there's a difference between an excuse and a reason. Some people might have legitimate reasons as to why they have to miss a check-in or they have to do a late check-in.
Yeah.
But it's about what you see consistently. So if you have, 10 weeks with a certain client and they've checked in either inconsistently or haven't checked in on time for 6 to 7 out of those 10 check-ins, then that's basically an establishment of a pattern.
Yeah.
Right? And that will probably reflect in their consistency in regards to their training and nutrition as well. So I always find that clients who check in on time every single week and make a genuine effort to not miss them, they will generally get better results.
Yep.
I obviously haven't done a case study on this, but I think if I went through all the data in my last over decade of coaching and correlated the data of, clients who check in more consistently versus less consistently, what the results showed, I could almost everything but guarantee that the results would be better. Like, if you start showing up late to work every day, your boss is going to lose the trust in you that you're going to be able to get the job done. They're going to start losing trust. They're going to start thinking, well, what else are they focusing on? They clearly don't care about this job. So to me, it's the same as checking in. Like, if it's a priority to you, you'll generally find a way. And like I said at the start, there's a difference between a reason and an excuse. And if something urgent has come up, I always find that the clients who are consistent with their check-ins and they have to either miss one for whatever reason or they're going to be late, they always let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the clients who don't are generally the ones who are consistently missing their check-ins or checking in at the wrong time every week, not doing the same time every week. That also leads to a little bit more messy data as well. So it does become a little bit harder to, I guess, put the puzzle pieces together in terms of the data and what we're seeing. So therefore, you can't always make the exact adjustments. But I guess I went off on a bit of a tangent there. But the point you made, it's like it really is a priority. If something's a priority, you'll find a way to get it done. And checking in is super important. If we don't have the data, we can't do our job. And if we can't do our job, you can't get the results.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it really is a partnership. And, if I'm here ready to get your check-in and I don't get it, you're holding us down. You're holding us back. You're weighing us down.
Yeah.
And it's the same as the coach, though. Like, if the athlete shows up every week and as a coach, if you're replying late more times than not, you're holding the team back.
Absolutely.
So, you both have to show up, but obviously in the context of this discussion, it's about the clients not checking in and stuff like that. You got to do your bit.
You do.
We can't do everything, and we can follow you up.
Yeah.
We can chase you, we can remind you everything, but at the end of the day, if it's not a priority, you probably aren't going to do it. The old saying, if you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the thing drink. So
that's true. And look, I guess at the end of the day, we're all adults, so we have to take responsibility.
Of course.
But I mean that each potential client at the start has reached out to you and signed up with you for a reason.
Yep.
They've got a goal. They've got an objective. They want to lose some weight. They want to get on stage. Whatever that goal is. So they're investing at the start.
Yeah. They've taken the first step.
Yeah, they've taken the first step. So their intention is there. And I guess we're heading off on a little bit of a tangent here in regards to the value of check-in against the importance of a check-in. But nonetheless, the importance of the check-in, no matter how regular it actually is, can be substantial in regards to the individual's progression, achievements, results, however you want to frame it. You mentioned there a number of times about data changes or the changes to their nutrition, training, metrics, but there doesn't always have to be a change. I know actually when you did one of Monty's check-ins, I think you replied to her and said, look, I know it's boring, but we just keep it as is. Yep. And that's often the case, right? Particularly for those that are checking in on a regular basis and showing consistency.
Yeah, you'll find that if you stick to the plan relatively consistently, you won't change anything for most weeks. Yeah. Because the reality is when you do the right thing all the time, you don't need to change. Until your body undergoes some sort of adaptation, which generally can take quite a while. Like with most people with fat loss, like I've seen people run out like anywhere between 8 and 20 week fat loss phases, and only maybe 1 or 2 adjustments.
Yeah, right.
Like if we're having to adjust every single week, there's a chance that you're probably not doing what you need to be.
Yeah.
But having the check-ins that's why we have them.
That's the point, right?
It gives us a chance to assess that data.
Yeah.
And it's not always about adjusting training and nutrition. It's about helping you solve problems. So you might come to me and say, like, get the check-in done on time. Great. Stuck to my diet, stuck to my training, but it was significantly harder this week because of X or Y. And as a coach, I don't need to change the plan. I just need to give you some tips on how to make things, I guess, not easy. We don't want to make things easier and we don't want to make things more comfortable, but give you another way to view it or give you a different perspective and say, hey, maybe try this, and that might make it a little bit more, I guess, a less challenging. Or you may be able to do this, you'll get an extra 1 hour of sleep a night, so your training will feel better. Yeah. So it's about problem solving as well. Like we're not just here to make adjustments to your diet, make adjustments to your training. In a sense, we're trying to make your life better. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you got to think about, like, why did you sign up to a coach? Oh, well, I wanted to get leaner. Okay, why? Yeah. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? Keep asking why. Like, ironically, I actually went to a conference on the weekend and I listened to, I think his name was Cliff Harvey, and he said, every time an athlete comes to me with a goal, or a client, athlete, whatever you want to call it, I always go down the 3 why method. And I thought this was really interesting. And they say their initial goal. Okay, why is that your goal? Cool, okay. Why? Yeah. Why? What does that mean to you? And try and get to the bigger reason. And for a lot of people, it's because they want to feel happier. Yeah. And I guess, again, going off on a massive tangent here.
That's all right.
But if you don't check in, we can't help you with that. Yeah. So it all just comes down to making sure that we're kept in the loop. So we can adjust if we need, or we can help you problem solve, or sometimes just be an emotional support. Like we're not psychologists, we're not counselors. We should never claim to be. No. But I'm here to just hear you out if you need to. If you need to have a vent, we're always here. Yeah. Obviously, every coach is different, but yeah.
Oh, that's it. Like you've got to provide that platform, because as good as their eating behaviours and training regime may be, there may be a few other things going on in the world that they are stressing about or losing sleep over, and that's going to hinder their progress, right? So if they vent, if they talk about it, if you can provide a solution or another path, that might just alleviate that problem and allow them to see some more progression. It's interesting though, like you mentioned, obviously, potentially that example you gave with the 8 to 12 weeks of maybe 2 potential changes. You do often see it from time to time, or hear it from clients that have been with other coaches, how they'll make multiple changes. It's almost a knee-jerk reaction sometimes. Yeah. Oh, I'm not losing weight. Okay, we drop your food. Yeah. Whereas, as you've just alluded to, if you dive a little bit deeper and look at some behavioural issues or just some concerns, there may be something else that we can do.
Yeah, the first sort of, I guess, like response to the plan not working shouldn't be to just change it. Yeah. It should be to dive a little bit deeper and figure out why it's not working, instead of just going, oh, well, it's not working, let's change that. Okay, why is it not working? Because if we can find the problem, we can create the solution. Now, you might be doing all the right things, and you might genuinely need an adjustment. But if you're doing it every week, I can guarantee you, like, the right thing is not happening, and there is a problem. And you can't create a solution if you don't know the problem.
Absolutely. What if the client is not prepared to hear the problem?
That's
I'm sure you've come across this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, as a coach, people pay me to be honest.
Yeah.
So if it's not something they want to hear, then.
But I've tried everything, Joe. I've tried everything.
Have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this?
Have you tried being consistent?
Yeah, no. It's usually everything but.
Yeah.
But I even forgot what I was
No, if they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, if they don't want to hear it, then as harsh as it sounds, like sometimes just too bad.
Yeah.
And the people around you, or the people you want to be surrounded by, are people who are going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
If people just tell you what you want to hear your whole life, I guarantee you'll be going nowhere quick. Yeah. So sometimes you just need to hear it, and sometimes there are things that you won't want to hear, but you don't pay us to sit there and lie and just to take your money.
Yeah.
Like that would be wrong. We wouldn't get a result. It would be very unethical. And yeah, I mean, like I say to my clients all the time, I'm like, hey, like I make enough money. I'm not interested in the money.
Yeah.
I'm interested in getting you to where you want to be. Now, of course, you've got to pay me because there has to be some sort of valuation on the process.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, when I'm coaching you, not thinking about the money, I'm thinking about what can I do to get the most out of you.
Yeah.
And if I have to have difficult conversations, or you have to hear things that you don't want to be, and I have to be the asshole for a couple of days, so be it.
Well,
and if you don't check in, you'll never experience this.
You never get the arsehole Joey version.
No, you don't want that.
I see it in India all the time. Multiple times.
Oh, God. True.
It is true. But that raises a really good point, because more often than not, that conversation has to be had in some way, shape or form, right? And by giving time, so time in terms of the client-coach relationship, builds that trust.
Yep.
So you can have those conversations, right? So, rather than throwing in the towel after 6 weeks because you're not seeing results, if you give it time, you can open that relationship up. Changes can be made, or harder conversations can be had, which will help long term. Yeah,
it's just like a job. Like, you might go to a job and your boss is telling you that you're doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. You need to do this and better, this better. You could quite easily just go, oh, that boss hates me, I quit.
Yeah.
This company's shit.
Yeah.
It's the same with coaching. Like, did you ever stop to think that maybe you're the problem?
Yeah.
And maybe that your boss was right? Because guess what? You're going to go to the next job or the next coach. You have the same problems.
Yeah, you will.
So we, as coaches, like we invest a lot of time and effort and money into our businesses to making us as good as we possibly can be. So, as a coach, all I ask for my clients is they show up and check in every week and try to be as honest and transparent as they can be. Some people send me check-ins and it's 10 words.
Yeah.
And they're like, I've had a great week.
Yeah.
I don't need anything. I don't have any questions.
Cool. That's good.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And if they do have questions, they ask questions. But some people need a little bit more. Some people will. I've had clients send me over 1,000 word write-ups.
Yeah. Okay.
Telling me about their weekend, and that's fine. Whatever the athlete needs to do to effectively do their check-in, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
Everyone is very, very different, and as a coach, it's your responsibility to understand the differences between everyone.
Yeah.
Some people need a different approach. You could have two people on the same diet and training, because they've got the same, I guess, like sort of physique, the same similar genetics, etc. But how you, I guess, respond to that client, how you answer questions, how you deliver feedback is going to be completely different. And they both might arrive at the same place.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you took two very different approaches. So.
Well, that's the art of coaching, right? Like, I've done a lot of studies recently on coaching philosophy and the like, and in the world of professional sports, which I know you're across a lot following NBA, a coach with a particular player or athlete will treat them slightly differently to the next player. Some need their hand held and a hug, and others need a swift kick up the butt. Depending on the approach and the individual and their psychology and their personality, and clients would be no different.
And we can't build these types of relationships or pick up these things without the client checking in.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can share a story just from recently. I had a client check in and she had been struggling for a little bit, and I've been trying to change how she views things, or trying to help her adjust, and not change. I don't want to change a person, but try and help her adjust how she views some things and try to be a little bit more positive. And I apologized at the end of the check-in. I said, hey, I'm sorry I went off on a bit of a tangent and maybe assumed a few things, but I'm just really trying to make sure that, you know, I get the most out of you, because I know you want to reach your goals and I want you to reach your goals. And she said, no, that's okay. Like, it's actually nice having someone pay attention and be able to sort of figure out who I am based off what I give you.
Yeah, true.
Because she checks in every week on the same day, and she's always honest.
Yep.
So now we've created a really nice, good, trustworthy relationship, and we've only been working together for a few months.
That's good.
So,
good early
you know,
start,
if you show up every week,
Yep.
you give your coach the opportunity to learn more about you, and then at some point the check-in process becomes far more efficient as well. So it's in your both your interests.
Very good point. You raised an interesting point in that example with you can only assess what you're given, right?
Yeah.
So the more detail the client gives, the more opportunity you've got to assess and obviously provide feedback. And as much as you can read between the lines. Experience the difference with Matt Glynn at Code Property Group. With a 20-year reputation of a clean business, Matt is your guy when it comes to all things real estate. Make sure you give him a call now on 0404 315 066. You know, if it's an email or if it's a message or something like that, there's not a lot of context to it in terms of their personality, their behaviour, their attitude, whatever. So the more detail is highly recommended, right? I've even said to clients, like, even because you know most common check-ins are weekly, right? So there's obviously a lot of water can go under the bridge in 7 days. I've said a lot of times, like, if you think of something and it's not pressing that you need to reach out to me straight away, make a note in your phone. If you're at the gym, you think of something, go, I'll put a note on your phone and then reference back. You know, so they've got that opportunity to be more detailed in their check-in. Therefore, we can do our job.
Yep, absolutely. More like I don't want to say more detail is better, because sometimes a lot of detail can be overkill, and it can like make the process a little bit more challenging for both because it's information overload. But there needs to be like a good enough level of detail. Like if you said to me, Joey, I want you to draw a picture of a forest with trees in it. Okay, well, how many trees? Like, how big is the forest? Is it like a kind of like a wood, like leafy forest? Is it a rainforest? Like, I can only act on the information that I'm given as a coach. Like, if you tell me, you know, diet was okay this week, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Like, is that okay good or okay like as in like, I need more specific information.
Yeah.
Like, I can't paint a picture without specific requests.
Well, if you're not serious, just let me know.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, exactly. Just let me know.
Oh dear. But that raises a good point. Like, and I'm sure again you've had this multiple times. You know, you'll have someone. They'll either message you ahead of time, and I'm just drawing on my own examples here, and they'll say, "Look, I've had a really shitty week. I'm not going to check in," and you know, you laugh. So obviously you have. Or that'll be the context of the check-in itself. You know, in my opinion, again, sometimes the shitty weeks are the ones where you should be checking in, right?
Yeah, they're the most important ones.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, like, you don't learn anything from winning.
No, that's good.
The only thing you learn is how good it feels.
Yeah.
But everything leading to a win, all the information you gather, all the lessons you learn, come from the L's.
Yep.
They come from the shit weeks. So on the weeks that you've had a shit one, you should be fanging to check in. You should be like thirsty for it, because that's an opportunity for me to sit down and give you advice so we can learn from what went wrong, and I can give you the tools to hopefully fix these issues going forward, and then you have less bad weeks and you start getting more and more wins.
Yeah.
Better weeks on the board. So
turn a negative into a positive, right?
Yeah, and no one likes to turn up after a shit week and basically say, I failed this week. I sucked.
Yep.
But you know, the bright side is, like, you learn from that.
You learn from it.
But if you don't check in, you don't learn anything from that.
No. You're more likely to do it again. Or just continue that trend.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like if you go into that next week not having received any instruction because you didn't want to show up and say, hey, I failed.
Yeah.
the same thing is going to happen at some point again. It might not be next week, might not be next month, but it might be a few months down the track. It's like, hey, if you had checked in 3 months ago when this happened the first time, we might have been able to avoid it.
Absolutely.
So I would argue that it's more important to check in on the shit weeks. Like you should be like so thirsty for a check-in after a bad week. Like I usually say to my clients, like if something goes wrong during the week, just message me. Let's nip it in the bud. Let's get it fixed. Some people want to wait to check in. Some people don't want to say anything. But it's, we're here to help.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We're not here to celebrate only the wins. We're here to help you with the losses. So.
Correct. But with more losses and more opportunity to learn from those losses, there's the potential for more wins, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What do you say to a client who has a trip planned coming up, going away, and they'll acknowledge or let you know in an earlier check-in or something, I'm going away for a long weekend or something like that. I don't plan to follow my meal plan or anything like that. I don't plan to train, even though where they're going, it's pretty obvious that there's gyms and things like that. What's your advice around that sort of situation? Because it happens often, right?
Yeah. I think context is really important. I think it depends on what kind of person we're dealing with here. Are they an athlete? Are they a general pop?
Yep.
What are their goals? What type of person they are? For example, there are some people that the minute they take their foot off the gas, it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
So sometimes keeping in an element of rigidity, although might seem negative when they're going away, they'll probably have a better time.
Yeah.
And I know you would have seen the same thing. Most of the time when people tell me they're going away, let's say it's a general pop client, their goal is to lose some weight. They've been doing fairly well. Say, hey, I'm going away for a week with my family. I want to enjoy myself. So I probably will train less. I won't necessarily track my food. So, okay, let's see if we can not have the pendulum swing. Let's see if we can stop it in the middle.
Yeah, okay.
And meet halfway. Okay, I want you to take some protein powder and just kind of try and eyeball how much protein you've had during the day and fill the gaps. With training, happy to give you sort of like a free week, like a non-programmed week, and see if you can get in every second to third day.
Yep.
And generally most people on their holidays, they're doing a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a super relaxing beach holiday and it's not a holiday with you. Paul loves a lot of activity on holiday, loves getting out for a walk or a hike.
Monty's shaking her head. You're supposed to have your headphones in, Monty.
She can hear everything. So the answer is it really does depend.
Are you looking to shed a few kilos, change your composition, improve your relationship with food, increase your strength, or simply just have a better accountability level? Then maybe coaching is for you. I now offer online coaching in a number of capacities, from week to week, fortnightly, monthly, and of course nutrition-only coaching. So if you are interested or want to know more, simply jump on paulsbodyengineering.com or simply send me a DM.
But I think you need to somewhat meet halfway because, while it's important for us to let the clients de-stress, it's also important for us to still show up and do our job too. And we would probably not be doing our job if we didn't at least provide like a fail-safe. Yeah. The client can choose what they want. They say, no, I'm not really interested in doing that. I'd rather just switch off, enjoy my holiday. Cool, that's fine, but I do have to do my job.
Yep.
Here's some things, here's some things you can do so you don't go backwards. But ultimately, how you approach this is up to you.
Absolutely.
So always provide something. And, the client might say, hey, like if you're dealing with a client in prep, say, hey, like, you've still got to track, you've still got to train.
Correct.
Okay, let's figure out how we can do this.
Yeah.
So nutritional strategies to make sure they stay on track. Like, if they're going to be eating out at restaurants, aiming for the most basic things on the menu, taking protein powder, taking your supplements over, getting a weekly gym pass in advance, making sure you leave an adequate amount of time to do your steps or your cardio or whatever you might have on your plan. But everyone is very different, but you do need to provide them with something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are they paying you for?
Well, 100%, absolutely. And you're right, like, with pre-planning, you can always discuss, like, the gym's a perfect example. Most cities or built-up areas, no matter where you go, has a gym. Like, we're going to head off to one later this afternoon, hopefully, and we're in a third world country, but we found one. So there's always a way. And I guess the downside is like if they do take the approach like you said, where they go, no, I'm going to do my own thing. They've got to be prepared for the result. That following check-in, whenever that may be. If it's the Monday, the Tuesday, whatever, weight's gone up, they feel fluidy, flat, whatever. Well, you've made your bed, you've got to lie in it, right? Even though the advice has been given.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. I don't have much else. I'm feeling a bit flat, to be honest.
That's all right, mate.
I appreciate that. So look, I think in relation to check-ins in general, what's one piece of advice you'd give? Because we spoke before about a client, and I'll be completely open here, and I've experienced it myself multiple times, where after only a set amount of weeks, they haven't been consistent with their check-in, they'll pull the pin on the coaching, even though you do your very best to follow up and things like that. So I guess, around that sort of scenario, particularly from the early stages of the relationship still building and, you establishing data and a baseline and trying to, circumvent where you need to head, what sort of some general advice you'd give in relation to that?
Just do the fucking check-in. Just do it. I don't care how good your week I don't care how bad your week was. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you regret signing up with me or whatever. Just do the check-in, because if you don't, I can't do anything. And then what I have to do is I have to be annoying and email you and say, hey, just following up where your check-in is. If there is anything I can do, let me know. Also, if you're not serious, just let me know. That's for the listeners. That's a bit of a gimmick.
That's a bit
if you're not serious, just let me know.
Yeah.
But genuinely, if you aren't serious, I need to know. So we can part ways. But just do the check-in. Like I said, you learn more from the bad weeks, and it's always great to have good check-in. So definitely check in on those weeks too. And your coaches are only here to help you. Like, we're not trying to hinder you.
No.
And every coach has their own way of, I guess responding to bad check-ins. But I would say that most coaches aren't here to, rip you to shreds.
No, not at all. No,
obviously context is everything.
Of course.
If my clients show up with a bad check-in, I'm like, I'm not a drill sergeant. I'm a fucking sports nutritionist.
But you know what, I imagine there'd be a period where you wouldn't have some bad check-ins come in.
Some weeks it's more bad than good.
There you go. Exactly. That's my point.
But I would argue that there's no such thing as a bad check-in. A check-in is just a check-in.
Yeah.
Because you've still got that data.
Yep.
And it gives you an opportunity to recreate the week and reset. So my advice would be to just do the check-in. Even if you feel shit, just fucking do it. It's like, set a reminder on your phone. Make it a non-negotiable. Like,
it should be non-negotiable.
Think about the things that are non-negotiable each day. Like, you brush your teeth.
Yep.
Every morning and every night.
So much.
Yeah. You might read 10 to 15 pages of a book.
Yeah.
And check-ins don't take hours.
No.
Take some photos. If I got clients that write up their commentary the day before.
Yeah, same.
They take their photos the day before and then they just send it the next morning, or they might even just get it in early.
Well,
it doesn't take long. Like, I've had coaches before, and my check-ins used to take me 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's including taking the photos, measuring myself, attaching it all to an email, gone.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, if they're, and again, depending on context and the type of check-in you're doing, if you're recording your weight on a daily basis, you can fill it out on a daily basis. It takes all of 30 seconds to put the weight data in, measurements, whatever the case may be.
Every coach has their own sort of, I guess, like process, and some might be quicker or longer than others. But even the long process ones still don't take that long.
No, you're right. It should very much be a priority, because that's what they're paying for. They're paying top dollar. They're paying for you. They're paying for your advice, your knowledge, your education. So
if I'm not getting anything, I can't give it.
You can't. That's right. You can't do anything about it. So, all right. Well, I think we might wind up on that one, Joe. That was good.
Lovely.
Excellent.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, short and sweet. 30 minutes, no problem. Easy peasy. So we've got I did say this at the start and I've forgotten. Today's Wednesday. We travel to Surat
tomorrow
on a train. And then we've got the show on Saturday, which will be exciting. New town, new city.
Maybe we do a post-show wrap-up.
We might have to. We didn't get one done in Goa, so we might have to. I think we might have to do that.
Be rude not to.
If I can wrangle Sir Jay into getting some of his time.
That would be fantastic. But good luck.
Yeah, I'll try.
He's a busy man.
I'll do my best. But if he's not serious,
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll let me know. All right, thanks, Joe, once again. And
good.
We'll try and get another one done before we leave.
Sounds good.
Well, we got there in the end. I'd like to thank Joey for his time once again. He does obviously spend a lot of time working when we're in India, just due to the sheer volume of work that he has to do. So to give up his time, certainly appreciate it, and obviously get another perspective, another insight from another coach is excellent in terms of the value that it can provide. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please screenshot and share it on your stories. Tag myself at Paul's Body Engineering. Tag Joey, of course, as well, at Joey Cantlin PT. And if you're interested in any of my coaching services, please jump on my website, paulsbodyengineering.com, or alternatively, head to the link in the bio of my Instagram page, or alternatively, just shoot me a DM or an email. But apart from that, as I say to every client, every single day, have a great day.